L'kutei Sichos Chelek Chav Beis, Acharei Aleph, Lili Nishmas, Rabbi Yosef ben Yamin, ben Rebbe Nasha Kaltman. This is a very, very Gishmak Rashi Sikha, where the Rebbe is mechadish a number of details with regards to the begodim, to the garments of the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur. The Rebbe also shows how this is a machlekes Rashi and Rambam, and a very beautiful hira at the end. Let us begin. Betchilas Parshasenu v'os vert erzählt v'yemer Hashem al Moshe daber al Aaron v'goymer v'yavi b'chaleis al HaKodesh. The Parshas Acharei begins with the avodah that was done in the Beis Hamikdash on Yom Kippur. It begins with Rabbi spoke to Moshe, speak to Aaron and tell him that you cannot go at any time into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, into the Holy of Holies. V'zois yavi Aaron al HaKodesh. In this specific scenario, Aaron could go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim on Yom Kippur with a par, on the day that he prepares the par, v'ayil, specific karbonis. Then, state in Pasuk, and then the next Pasuk says, K'soines bad Kodesh Yilbash, he should wear a shirt of linen, u'michnes evad Yilbash al Psareh, and he should wear a pants of linen, and a hat of linen, and a belt, an avnate, a gartel of linen. That's what the Pasuk says. Stellt sich Rashi auf die Wörter K'soines bad. So Rashi quotes the words K'soines bad, a shirt of linen, and it's befarish, and Rashi explains, Magid, this teaches us, she'enoi mishamish lifnim bishmeina begodim, she'u mishamish be'em b'chutz, that inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, he does not serve while wearing the 8 garments which he normally wore when he was outside of the Kodesh HaKadoshim. She'yesh b'hem zav, because they have gold in them. Some of the garments of the Kohen Gadol were woven together with various different threads, including golden threads. And the prosecutor cannot become the defender. Gold is a negative item because the Yidden sinned with the Egel Hazav, with a golden calf, and therefore you can't use gold to defend them on the day of Yom Kippur, which is coming to atone for the sin of the Egel Hazav. Elo barba, so he doesn't wear the 8 garments, rather, says Rashi, he wears 4 garments, Kohen Hedyot, like a regular Kohen, V'kulon shel boots, and all of them are made of linen. The Pashtus is the Pshat and Pirush Rashi. On a very simple level, what's Rashi telling us? Why over here is there a commandment to wear the priestly garments? That he should wear the shirt of linen. These are holy garments. He should put them on. As if this is a brand new thing, the first time we've ever heard of such a thing. When in truth, this was already taught us very explicitly in Parshas Tetzaveh. Whether the obligation to make these garments, or the obligation to wear them, as the pasuk over there says, when they go into the Oyel Moed, or when they approach the Mizbeach to serve in holiness, they should wear these garments, and they should not carry a sin and die for doing the avodah without these garments. So what is being added on to that pre-existing commandment? In Parshas Tetzaveh, they were already commanded that they should make garments and wear them. All of a sudden, we're saying the same thing all over again. You should say this about Kodesh Yilbash. Even if you say it's talking about Yom Kippur, we already know that when they do malacha, when they do avodah, they wear the garments. Is Rashi mevayer? So according to this understanding of Rashi, Rashi is explaining as the pasuk kum dozagin magid. The pasuk is coming to tell us not to list the various priestly garments and tell us, give us the commandment that they have to be worn. When going into the kodesh, into the holy area to do the Aveda. Nor, Rashi is telling us that why is the pasuk telling us about these garments as a darf anton belois di begodim, that he only wears these garments. Und nicht die schmeinen begodim wegen welchem hat gelernt früher in Parashat Tetzaveh as in Zeis Adam Shamash Alamol, and not to wear all 8 that Parashat Tetzaveh told us that Aaron should wear at all times when he's doing the Avodah. So Rashi is explaining to us that this pasuk is not here to teach me the fact that they have to wear big dekona, but the fact that the Kohen Gadol wears only these 4 garments and not the other 4. That's the pshat. That's the basic pshat in Rashi. That the pasuk is telling us, and Rashi is coming to tell us that the chiddush of this pasuk is that the Kohen Gadol wears only the 4 and not all 8. But we still have to understand this has not sufficiently answered all of our questions. Hoysafas tevas magid, the adding of the word magid in Pirush Rashi is b'derech klal nafal when the inyan was Rashi sagt steht nicht im Pshat HaPasuk mefurish. Usually Rashi uses the word magid when whatever Rashi is telling us is not written explicitly in the pasuk. Nor magid means it's telling us. Der pasuk sagen a gewisse Sach. The pasuk is telling us something specific. Neisef of them was sagt befehlish. In addition to what it says explicitly. Usually, when does Rashi use the word magid? When we see one piece of information from the pasuk, Rashi wants to tell us that the pasuk is telling us something else in addition to that. Rashi says the word magid. He's doesn't understand it, but over here it's not understood. Der inyan as tut on nor arba begodim nicht meine begodim steht befehlish in the pasuk. This idea that the Kohen Gadol wears the 4 and not 8, at least the fact that he's wearing the 4 is in the pasuk. Why use the word magid? What's the chiddush here that I don't see in the pasuk? Rashi telling me the pasuk is telling me that he wears 4 garments. That I see in the pasuk, same as Badkedesh, etc. I see very clearly in the pasuk that you wear 4 garments. So the question is on the word magid. You also have to understand the end of Rashi. Rashi says Ela ba'arba, that he goes in to do the avodah with 4 garments. Kohen had it like a regular kohen. V'chulun shalbutz, all are made out of linen. Aleph number 1, menzatin pasuk adozan oizkedech and darba begodim. Is vos that Rashi is talking. If you open the pasuk and you count ksoines, michnesei bad, bitznefes, and avneit, you see 4. Why did Rashi have to say Ela ba'arba? Rashi could have said magid she'eni meshamash lifnim b'shmeina begodim, etc. Doesn't have to add that you do use arba. Base, was is a meiser of machadish kein hadit. We weiß doch from früher in Parashat Tetzaveh as a kein hadit tragt nor arba begodim. Next question is, why does Rashi have to tell us kein hadit when we already know that a kein hadit wears 4 begodim? Gimel b'chol eifin l'may nafkamina does it kein hadit. What relevance is there? Even if for whatever reason Rashi feels that he wants to say kein hadit. Doesn't want to rely on what I already know. But who cares? Who cares if it's a kain hadit or not? Yeah, Ela barba. Daled v'chulin shalbutz. Then Rashi said that all these garments were made out of linen. Es steht beperish in pasuk by yedrin fun di begadim as er soll sein fun bad. So Rashi the Rebbe asks, Avne. Well, how does the pasuk start? Ksheines bad kodesh yilbash. Michne say vad. V'avneit bad yacher. Of mitznefes bad yitznef. Bad every time. Bad and butz is the same thing. It means linen. So the pasuk already told me that these garments are made out of bad. Vos is Rashi meis v'kulin shel butz. So why does Rashi have to add that these all are made out of linen? So the Rebbe is going to suggest an answer in Sif Gimel and is going to refute it in Sif Dalet. The Rebbe is going to suggest that maybe the Kohen Gadol wears 8 garments and it's just a different material. And the Rebbe is going to refute that. The Rashi is coming to negate a totally different pirush. When we learn this pasuk, so we're saying that it means that he wears only 4 garments. But how about if we suggest otherwise? We know from Parashat Tetzaveh that Aaron would wear 8 garments, all of which were for glory or for honor and for beauty. How is it, or why is it, that on the once a year that he's actually going into the Holy of Holies, he's only wearing 4 of the 8? Not the other 4. Which seemingly is diminishing the honor and the beauty of the Kohen Gadol. And because we would have this question, why should the Kohen Gadol have less beauty and less honor on this day? We might have learned, as the pasuk kommt, that the pasuk is not telling me that he has to wear only these 4. Because it's obvious that even more than the rest of the year, today is one day that he should be wearing all 8. And as other Mefarshim, Taka want to learn like this. Der Pasuk kommt sagen, dem Shinish Yom Kippurim. So in that case, what's this pasuk telling me? If the Kohen Gadol is wearing 8 garments, then what's this pasuk telling me? This pasuk is telling me that there was a change on Yom Kippur. As the Dalit begodim darfen sein damos b'Yom Kippurim anders. Then on Yom Kippur, the 4 garments are different. A ganz Jahr is the Dalit begodim wie gesagt in Parashat Tzava haksoines sheish mitznefes sheish ve'avneit goimar given sheish mazor. That whole year, the 4 begodim that the Kohen Gadol wore were made out of sheish. Sheish is also linen, but it's linen that is, each thread is woven of 6 threads. So it's a much fancier material. Each thread is woven together from 6 threads. Mashenkin Davi Yom Kippurim is gesehen is bad, michnes bad, avneit bad, mitznefes bad, nicht sheis mas under ein chut. And on Yom Kippur, the material was made not out of linen that was woven from 6 threads, but linen that was woven from 1 thread. Und the Rebbe read their pasuk Norveg and Delvisha for the Dalit begodim. This is why the pasuk only mentions these 4, because the other 8 weren't any different. But these 4 were different. That though they were linen, they were made of a different type of linen. Maybe that's what the pasuk is saying. In these 4, with mentioning these 4 begodim. Und das ist Rashi Shelum as ein Pirush Magid. And this is what Rashi is coming to negate. Nicht wie what you can learn as the pasuk is never mevaret dem shinui. Not as you might have learned that the pasuk is only specifying this change. Welch is not indeed begodim. That applies to these 4 garments. Oh, but it is nicht shel delivisa when the under begodim. But it's not negating the wearing of the other 4 begodim. Nor, says Rashi, that's not the pshat. Not pshat that he wears all 8, and just that these 4 are made of a different material or a different weaving system. Nor, Rashi has to come and clarify that he does not go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim with 8 garments. The pasuk is coming to negate that he does not wear the 8 garments that he wears when he's doing the avodah outside of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the regular 8, but he only wears 4 like a Kohen Hedyot. So this is the Rebbe's suggestion in what's Rashi's chiddush, or what's bothering Rashi. Rashi's bothered by the fact that a person might learn that the pshat is that a Kohen Gadol does wear 8 garments, and just that the material is different, that it's made out of simple linen instead of sheish mazdar, woven linen. And therefore Rashi has to say, no, that's not the pshat. The pshat is that he only wears 4 garments, and not 8 that he wears generally in the general. But this pirush, this is not understood well. Weil. Even according to this way, the word magid is not answered, the extra word. But Rashi is not adding anything to what's clearly stated in the pasuk. And it's Rashi is just negating a mistaken pirush that someone might have suggested. That would be different than what the pasuk is implying. Because the pasuk says you should wear 4, and I might have thought that you wear 8, and just these 4 are different material. So Rashi's not adding anything to the pasuk. He's just clarifying a negating a mistaken understanding. So the word magid still does not justify itself. Is nice of them. In addition to that, there's siyum from pirush Rashi. The end of Rashi is not understood. Rashi says, is nit nor iberik. Not only are these words that they were made out of linen extra, because we're not talking about the material, we're talking about the fact of Rashi. I would have thought that we're talking about the material, but Rashi is clarifying that we're not talking about the material. We're talking about the fact that he wears 4 and not 8. So who cares what the material is? Nor does not only is it extra, but it actually seems to push the opposite pshat. As Gita Mokim Lites, as a Chidush from Pasuk is indeed Didal Begodim. Was the Pasuk rechent Yahweh's, as Kulun Shel Butz. It seems to imply from Rashi that the Chidush of this Pasuk is that about the material, that these 4 Begodim should be made of a different material. Hey Pechanal Pirush Rashi. Which is the opposite of what we're trying to say that Rashi is teaching us. As the Chiddush from Pasuk is blazed in Demas Atrak Niti under the 4 big days of that the sole Chiddush of Rashi is that he's not wearing the other 4 garments that are made with gold. So, but Rashi is v'kulon shel butz, he makes it about the material. The whole pshat that the Rebbe was suggesting was that it's not about the material. The Rashi is negating the fact that it's about the material. I would have thought that the chiddush of this pasuk is that it's a different material and that he still wears 8. Comes Rashi and says, no, he wears 8. He wears 4, not 8. So then why did Rashi mention the material? Why does he bring up the material if this isn't about the material? Is the beer bazeh? So the Rebbe now brings the beer, and with his beer, the Rebbe is going to clarify to us what is Rashi's perspective on the big day lavan, on the white garments that the Kohen Gadol wore in Yom Kippur, and with this it's going to explain to us the whole Rashi, every detail in the Rashi, what Rashi is trying to tell us. Rashi kum verenfen a shaila v'shtel sich in pasuk. Rashi is bothered. Rashi is coming to answer a question that is raised in the pasuk. Farvosh steht od der pasuk wegen der Wishes of God in b'makom zeh. Why is this pasuk written exactly in this spot, in this part in the parsha? L'cheirat is gedarft stehen oder far alle avedes v'karbonis von dem Kohen Gadol b'yom Kippurim in dem friedigen pasuk. So what happens is like this. If you go back, if you look in the Chumash, you look in the first pasuk. In the first paragraph of the Sicha, where the Rebbe quotes the Psukim, so you have the general rule that Aaron cannot go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim at all times. Then it starts with Zois Yavei Aaron al HaKodesh, V'par Beboka Lechatos V'ayil Lo'ilo. That in order for Aaron HaKohen to go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, it has to be on this day that he's bringing the Par V'ayil. Then the pasuk says K'soinas Bad Kodesh Yilbash, that he should wear these 4 garments. And then the pasuk goes on to say the various different avodas that were done in these garments. In other words, the way it worked in the Beis Hamikdash on that day was the Kohen Gadol started in Big Day Zav, and he did the Tamin Shel Shachar, and he did the Minchas Chavitin. He did the daily things that were not directly connected to Yom Kippur. Then he would change his clothes and go into the Big Day Lavan, and then he would do a series of things: the vidui and the goyrol on the two seirim and the 2 goats, and then he would take the pan of ketoires into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and he would squirt the blood into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and then he would come out and do other avodas. So that's how the pasuk is structured. First it's B'zeis Yavei Aaron el HaKodesh. Then it says K'soinas Bad Kodesh Yilbash, it talks about the garments. And then it goes through the various things that were done in the Big Day Lavan, in the white Yom Kippur garments. So the Rebbe is saying that Rashi is bothered by the placing of this pasuk. Either put it at the very beginning, before B'zeis Yavei Aaron el HaKodesh, before you start talking about the Aveda of the day, and say that he's going to have to wear these garments. Oder nachdem, wie der Pasuk rechnen tust, die alle Avedes, was gedarf ton sein, die angetan in die Begadim, or after the entire list of things. In the order the Rebbe says, after Pasuk Chav Beis. In Pasuk Chav Beis, Pasuk Chav Gimel, he starts saying about the ayil of the Kohen Gadol, that the Kohen Gadol did in the Big Day Zav. He switched clothes back, and his personal ayil he did in the Big Day Zav. But all the psukim until there are things that the Kohen Gadol would do in the Big Day Lavan. So the pasuk should have given the whole list and said, and all this is done in K'soinas Bad Kodesh, in these four garments. Rashi's trying to figure out why not put it either at the beginning or at the end. Why in the middle? Von dem was die Teire sagt, dem Tzivui dog gleich, nach dem pasuk bezois gomer bepar ben boker lechadas v'ayil leila. From the fact that the pasuk says to wear these garments after the pasuk about the parva ayil, the cow and the ram that the Kohen Gadol would bring on that day. But when the pastors learned, what we would have simply understood as the arba begodim tuter on nor but them par ben bakar lechadas v'ayil oila. Zaydik dikarbanas am yuchadim loy b'yom kippurim. That since it says, the pasuk says par and ayil, and then it says these garments, I would understand that these garments apply to these begadim. That these begadim apply to these karbanas. And what's unique about these karbanas? These are the Kohen Gadol's personal karbanas, and therefore he has to wear different garments. When he's doing the avodah for everyone, he wears big days off like a whole year. When he's doing personal avodas, he's a private person. He puts on the big day lavan. That's what I would have thought from the positioning of this pasuk. Oh, but what's the problem with that? Maybe that's not the pshat. So the Rebbe says, no, it can't be. Because when the Psuk invited is klar, as a losoy, der ayila eila, very ketan in andere begadim, the lavash is begadim, was das meint, die shmeine begadim, shuevid ben koim Shana. First of all, in Pasuk Chav Gimel and Chav Daled, it says that he should do the ayil. So it says, "V'lovas is begodim," he should put on his clothes. So Rashi says this is referring to the 8 garments. In other words, when it came to his ayil, to his personal ram, he put on the 8 garments, including the big days of. That's what Rashi says. So there's already a contradiction. Beis, we also see from looking in the psukim, as the Allah Avedis Biz Eilosai, that all the other things that had to be done till his Eilah. For example, the Shnei Sireizim Lechatos for Nadas Bnei Yisrael, the 2 goats that were used as the Chatos for the Yidden, and the Avedis Akteris B'chulu, the Kteris which had to be, he took a Malay Chafnav, he took a handful, and he put it into a pan. He took the pan into the Kiddush HaKadoshim. All this is done. The Psukim make it very clear that all that was done in the 4 garments. So why is this pasuk here? Not only is it not understood why it's here, the pasuk is giving us a wrong implication that we know from other psukim is wrong. So what's the pasuk doing here? The Rebbe is Rashi Mefarish. Therefore Rashi comes and teaches us. Magid she'einoi mishamish lifnim b'shmeina begadim shu mishamish ben b'chutz. This teaches us that he's not serving. He doesn't serve inside the Kiddush HaKadoshim with the 8 garments that he serves outside. Even though the flow of the psukim would imply that these garments are necessary when it comes to the karbanos discussed in the previous pasuk. Seider chatos and seider yela is the perish nitazoi. That's not what it means. And that's he says magid because he's actually changing the pshat of the pasuk. No, the pasuk comes again as ein mishamish lifnim b'shmeina begadim shemishamish and b'chutz. The pasuk is telling us that the defining factor of whether he wears lavan or zav is where is he when he's doing the avodah. Is he doing the avodah in the kodesh hakadoshim lifnim, or b'chutz? If he's on the inside, then he wears the white garments. If he's outside, he wears the gold garments. The ayil for his ayla was offered outside of the Kiddush HaKadoshim, and therefore he wears big days off. Shmeina begadim. The other avodas that were done later, the azayas adam from the Shnei Sirim and the Kteris, the spraying of the blood, and the Kteris that we mentioned before, is the chalz b'fnim or the tzedek p'nim, is either done inside the Kiddush HaKadoshim or for the purpose of the Kiddush HaKadoshim. Meaning to say, he has to the gathering of the Kteris was done outside, but he then had to bring the Kteris into the Kiddush HaKadoshim. The shchita of the par was done. The blood of the par was then taken into the Kiddush HaKadoshim to be sprayed in the Kiddush HaKadoshim. So it's actually being done bachutz, but it's tzorich pnim. It's for something that is needed on the inside. And therefore it's being done with 4 begadim. So Rashi is explaining to us that the chiddush of this inyan is that the defining factor of which garments to wear is what type of avodah is it. Is it an avodah of pnim or an avodah of chutz? If it's an avodah of pnim inside the Kiddush HaKadoshim or tzorich pnim, something that's going to lead to what's being done in the Kiddush HaKadoshim, he wears big day lavan. And if not, he wears big days off. Und das gufli is the time was the inyan of God steht danach im pasuk. And this explains why this pasuk is placed here. Nicht früher for alle karbanos und nicht später nach dem Siyum von the karbanos am Yechad Yom Kippurim. Not before all the karbanos and not after the conclusion of the karbanos that were unique to Yom Kippur, because mit dem sagt der pasuk as the levishe von the vier begadim is nicht mitzad avedas von Yom Kippur. That the pasuk is telling us. First it says bezois yave Aaron el kodesh, and the next pasuk saying is bad kodesh. It's telling us that when does Aaron wear the garments? Bezois yave Aaron el kodesh, when he goes into the kodesh, and it's not connected to avedas Yom Kippurim, which means there are certain avedas of the day that are taka in the big days of. The chiddush from Yom Kippurim, the shimus b'fnim. The chiddush of Yom Kippur is bezois yave Aaron el kodesh, when he goes into the Kiddush HaKadoshim. The shimus b'fnim can nit zayin mitshmeina begadim shumishamas ben bachutz, but don't maintain beikir nit shimus b'choy misashana. No, shumishamas ben bachutz b'Yom Kippurim atzmai. And when you go into the Kiddush HaKadoshim, you can't wear the 8 garments that you wear outside. When he says outside, he doesn't mean outside the rest of the year. Even on Yom Kippur, the avedas that belong to the chutz, he wears big days of. And when he goes into Lifnim, he wears the big day Lavan and not the big day Zav. So with this, the Rebbe is being mechadish or telling us the chiddush of Rashi that what are the big day Lavan dependent on Yom Kippur. What is Yom Kippur? Where do you see the ikir of Yom Kippur when you go into the Pnim, the Kodesh HaKadoshim? That's b'zayis Yavei Aaron el HaKodesh, Ksainas Bad Kodesh Yilbash. When he goes into the Kodesh, that's the main element of Yom Kippur, and that is when he wears the big day, the big day Yom Kippur, the big day Lavan. This will also answer a question that Rashi seemingly could have or should have addressed and didn't. In other words, now that we understand that Rashi's approach, according to the way the Rebbe explains, is that the ikir of Yom Kippur is the shimush bifnim, this answers another question. Since we said, Rashi brings that the prosecutor, the thing that is accusing, a better word than a prosecutor, the accuser cannot become the defender. Which is why the Kohen Gadol cannot serve on Yom Kippur in the golden garments. How is it possible that we're saying that when he's outside of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, he could wear the big day Zav? When we talk about the Aved of the Kohen Gadol the rest of the year, even if he's doing something that is on the theme of atonement, that this concept that the accuser cannot become the defender is something that applies specifically to Yom Kippur. The Yom Kippur, by definition, as his name tells us, is all about atonement. When the fire of the Aveda from them tugs, and therefore the Aveda of Yom Kippur has to be with extra precaution. Not to give any room to open up an accusation. So therefore we understand that the rest of the year we let it slip. We allow, even by Inyan of Kapara, we allow him to wear gold. But now on the day of Yom Kippur, it's not understood. Any Yom Kippur work, whether it's inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, whether it's outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, should not have been allowed to be done with big day Zav, because the Zav reminds the Eibishter of the guilt of the Yidden with the Egel HaZav, and it should be excluded entirely. Is there beer but angedeitet in them was the pasuk saying this bad gamer kum behemshich zum pasuk bezeis Yavei Aaron. But in this juxtaposition of the pasuk bezeis Yavei Aaron and Kseinas bad kodesh, which we just explained, is to teach us that the ikir inyan of Yom Kippur is the shimush bifnim, and therefore that's when he wears these begadim. This answers this question as well. Durch magdim sein gleich pas cholas avidis Yom Kippurim die Wörter bezeis Yavei gamer par gamer. By beginning the entire section of the Aveda of Yom Kippur with the words, with this iron goes into the Kodesh, learn to the pasuk is teaching us, as the Nekudah of Yom Kippurim is not the Aveda Sayem. The main focal point of Yom Kippur is not the Aveda of the day, nor Yavei Aaron el HaKodesh, the Knisa l'Kodesh HaKadoshim, the entry of Aaron HaKohen, or the Kohen Gadol, into the Holy of Holies. And this brings the ultimate atonement. But in order for it to be a proper entry, there has to be other accompanying things. Various offerings and various work is required. Whether inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim or outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, like the ayil, that was the oil of the ram, that was the oil for the Kohen Gadol. But those are accoutrements to the main event, which is the Kohen Gadol going into the Kodesh HaKadoshim b'zayis Yavei Aaron el HaKodesh. Is verstandig as the Bavarim is von ein Kategen as a nigger, and therefore we understand that the precaution to not allow the accuser to become a defender, to not wear gold garments, is beikir in dem art from Kapara Yom Kippurim, primarily applies to the place where the atonement is happening, in the Aveda b'fnim, in the Aveda that's being done inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So, and therefore, it's not really an issue for the Kohen Gadol to wear big day Zav anywhere else, because all the other things that are being done by Chutz are only add-ons to the main event of Yom Kippur, which is the Kohen Gadol going into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So we've answered what's bothering Rashi. What's bothering Rashi is why is this pasuk said over here? We're answered why Rashi says the word magid, because Rashi is teaching us an incredible chiddush. The mashmos of the pasuk is possibly that when he does the avodah of Yom Kippur, he wears 4 garments. But Rashi is telling us magid by placing the psukim in this order, it's teaching us a chiddush that the wearing of the big day Yom Kippur, the 4 garments, is dependent on the avodas that are connected to the pnim, because the main avodah is the shimush b'pnim. The main effect of Yom Kippur is in the shimush b'pnim, and that's where he has to wear the 4 garments, and that's the chiddush of this pasuk. Saying this, but why does this pasuk say anything over here? To tell us that you don't wear 8 when you go into the pnim. And this also explains why Ein Kateg and Asas and Eger only applies in the pnim and not bachutz, because pnim is the main thing. That's where the kapara is happening. And the Rebbe doesn't address the question Ela Barba clearly in the Sikha, but the it's moving meyatzmei that the chiddush is the shlila. When Rashi says the words that Rebbe asked in question number question Aleph of Siv Beis. Why does it say Arba Begodim? So now we understand that Rashi is emphasizing to us not Shmeina. The pasuk says Arba, fine. But maybe it means this 4 in addition to the others. But actually no, because Ein Kateg and Asas and Eger. So when he goes into the Kedesh HaKadoshim, he does not wear magid. What's supposed to say? Ein Mishamis Lifnei B'Shmeina Begodim. Ela Barba Dafke with Arba and not Shmeina. The Chiddush is in the Shlila, in that he's wearing 4 and not 8. What are the words Kikayin Hadit? Why does we ask the Rebbe ask why did it say Kikayin Hadit? Vibald leit Pirush Rasha. Is there chiddush from pasuk saying as bad gamer in their shlila? Since according to Rashi, the chiddush of this pasuk is in the negative. As bifnim tarmen nit mishames amedibit dizov. Well, ein kategen as nega that inside the kedesh hakadashim he's not wearing 8. That's the emphasis of this pasuk. Is nit glatik. This leaves us with a question. When we learn the psukim in Parashas Tetzaveh that the Kohen Gadol should have, the Kohanim should have their garments 4 for the Kohen Hadid and 8 for the Kohen Gadol, we see how careful one must be when it comes to the begodim. In order for the avodah to be done in a way that is honorable and that is beautiful, so they have to wear their begodim. So much so that if someone serves without wearing the proper clothing, then he's chayiv misa. Hein, wie kommt es, als zu lieb ein Kateger, Nasas an Eger, so der Kohen Gadol nicht sein beschleimus, der Kavod l'Sivaris? How is it possible that because of this seemingly side issue, that the Zov it represents the Egel, and it's a Kateger, that it reminds of the guilt of the Yidden, because of that the Kohen Gadol should go in an incomplete manner? That his L'Chavod l'Sivaris should not be in full glory and in full beauty. Not only is he not wearing anything extra in honor of the day, he's wearing less than regular. So this is what a person can ask. We understand this is the concept of Enkateg and Nasas and Eger, but is it strong enough to override L'Chavod L'Sifaris? V'yash L'Haisif. And the Rebbe adds over here in the brackets a very, very important hisafa, because it's going to come up again later in the Sikha with regards to the Rashi and the Rambam. If we were looking, remember, keep in mind that Rashi sees the Arba as an inyan of Shlila, as a negative, that he's not wearing the 8, he's not wearing the gold garments. So, and Rebbe explains, if we were to learn that there was a unique special din on Yom Kippur, big day kahuna, as the Kohen Gadol daftragen and under sug begotten, that he's wearing a totally different category of garments, meaning to say that you have the Kohen Hedion's garments, which is 4 garments. You have the Kohen Gadol's garments, which is 8 garments. And then you have the Yom Kippur garments that are 4. But it's a specific din in big day kahuna, in Yom Kippur. Is nit as a kasha, then it's not so difficult. Because then you could say, just like the Torah tells you a whole year that he should wear 8. So similarly, on Yom Kippur, the Torah says wear 4. In other words, if this is a chelik of the Aveda of Yom Kippur, that there's an inyan chiyuvi, there's a positive here. You shall wear these 4 garments. And you could say that it's the same Torah that said wear 8, says wear 4. But as we've explained it until here, according to Rashi, there's no unique din, there's nothing new being introduced that you should wear a brand new category of clothing. It's just that he can't wear the gold garments, and therefore 4 of the garments don't work, and he's stuck with wearing only 4, so to speak. That according to this, the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur of all days is lacking clothing, lacking the right amount of garments. The farm was Rashi Bavaronin as the Kohen Gadol to Rabbi Kikayin Hedyot. That's why Rashi has the words Kikayin Hedyot. Why is it relevant? It's relevant to change the status of the Kohen Gadol. That in this regard, today he becomes like a Kohen Hedyot. Thus, as the Kohen Gadol Tarak Bifnim Nor Arba Abgad, and the fact that when he goes into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, he's wearing 4 garments, is nit pshat as Tarak Fir von Zayin Acht Gad, and he's wearing 4 of his 8. There is devil mishamas via Kohen Hedyot. He changes status, so to speak. He becomes like a Kohen Hedyot, which a Kohen Hedyot wears 4 to begin with. So therefore, it's not a diminishment of the clothing. He just changes statuses. He goes from the status of being a Kohen Gadol to the status of being a Kohen Hedyot with regards to the begadim, and a Kohen Hedyot wears arba. So that's why Rashi adds the words Kohen Hedyot to tell me that he's not considered lacking the right number of garments because he just changed his status and becomes like a Kohen Hedyot, which is lechatchila only supposed to wear 4. So now if you go down to Rashi, you see how every prat is working. Rashi is bothered by the fact that the pasuk was placed over here, and that the Ksenes Bat Kedesh was placed after B'Zeis Yavi Aaron. Therefore, Rashi says Magid is a major chiddush here. That the uftu of Yom Kippur is the shimus bifnim, and that's where the big dilavan apply because that's the ikar of Yom Kippur. Says Rashi, and therefore it's an inyan shel shalila. When you go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, which is the main part of the day, you can't wear the 8. The 8. You can't wear the gold. You have to wear the ela ba'arba, but you're only wearing 4, not 8. Kik Kohen Hedyot, and the Kohen Gadol changed his status, and therefore he's not considered lacking the right amount of garments because he's like a Kohen Hedyot, and he's wearing the right number, which is 4. The only thing that remains is the kul and shel butz. Why does Rashi have to add this if it says clearly bad in the pasuk? The mitzvah ich verstehen the psim lo shenashe v'kul and shel butz, and we'll also understand why Rashi has to end the words of kul and shel butz. Kavanas Rashi is nit nur zumat gezan at the dal begadim zan nit kenin shel kateger. Rashi's intent here is not just to emphasize the fact that they're made of linen and not gold, so therefore they're not a reminding of the guilt. By saying that it was made out of linen, it's actually adding in a proof that the Kohen Gadol serves on Yom Kippur like a Kohen Hedyot with regards to the garments. Why? What's the proof? In Parshas Pekudei, as er ist gemacht geworden von Sheish Mazor u'secheles v'argamam v'selashanim aserek. Aaron's avnet, the one that's part of the 8, was made out of the linen, blue wool, purple wool, red wool, and it was woven together. In Parashat Tetzaveh, where state that it's begadim, state nor as avnet avnei ma'aser. In Tetzaveh, where it says the first time about making the avnet, making the belt, it says ma'aser it was woven together, but it doesn't say out of which materials. It doesn't say from which materials. But when it comes to Parshas Pekudei, state as of netish Aaron Ken God for the minimal. But in Parshas Pekudei, it says clearly that it was made out of sheish mazor, tcheles, argamon, telas, shani. Kumtois, as of netish Aaron is nit nor von bad. So in that case, that means that Aaron's belt, Aaron's gartel, is not made only of linen. It's made of a blend of other materials. So why does the pasuk say of avnet bad yachker that he should wear an avnet of linen? Is there fun gedrungen? From this we can derive as the begadim that are niti big the Kohen Gadol, nor the zayin and the arba Kohen Hedyot. That the gartel is different. The gartel is made as avnet of bad. not of Ma'aser Roikim. So by emphasizing the Kulin Shel Boots, Rashi is pointing out to you that the avnate is of a different material, and therefore it must be that on Yom Kippur there's a separate set of clothing, like the Kohen Hedyot, that's different than what the Kohen Gadol is wearing the rest of the year. Und Rashi nennt am Besuch Shel Mikra, das was der Pasuk teilt us avnete Shlaren in Parashas Pekudei, und der Mann nicht die Avnetim von Banov, hat dort ein Gufer der Mann der Pasuk die andere Gimel begadel von Pnei Aaron. So the Rabbi is explaining what was the avnate of the Kohen Hedyot made of. So according to Pshuta Shel Mikra, what happens is the Pasuk says by the avnate of Aaron that it was Ma'aser Roikim, and does not mention the avnate of the Kohen Hedyot. Even though the other begadim of Bnei Aaron, the Ksoinis, the Mechanasayim, and the Mitznefes are mentioned, or the Mikbas, are mentioned in those psukim. Is what the pasuk read dar dafke v'gan avnei Shlaren. So Rashi learns that over there, when the pasuk says Ma'aser Roikim, it means specifically Aaron's avnate, that it was woven together. Mashenkin the avnatim from Bnei Aaron and gemakim on anders blois von bad, whereas the avnatim of the other kohanim, the children of Aaron, the Kohen Hedyot, were made not Ma'aser Roikim, but were made only of bad. So therefore, there's now a distinction that the Kohen Hedyot wears the avnate of bad, of linen, plain linen, and the Kohen Gadol wears an avnate Ma'aser Roikim that's woven together of various materials. And when the pasuk says avnate bad, and Rashi emphasizes this by saying v'kulon shel boots, Rashi is emphasizing that Aaron is wearing garments like the Kohen Hedyot, where even the avnate is also made out of bad and not Ma'aser Roikim. So with this, we've answered all of our questions on Rashi, and we've learned an incredible chiddush in Rashi. The Rashi holds that the focal point of Yom Kippur is not so much the avodah of Yom Kippur, but the focal point is the shimush bifnim. And therefore, that's where the kapara happens. That's where you can't wear big days of, etc., etc., as we learned Baruch. The Rebbe is going to say in Yanim Mufloim, and you go into Halacha, this forms a machloikis between Rashi and Rambam in two pratim, and then the Rebbe is going to connect both pratim. Shleimer, das is from the Yanim Mufloim, and Derech Halacha is Pirush Rashi. Rashi is mechuluk mit Rambam and Megeder from the big Kohen Gadol b'Yom Kippurim. Rashi is in dispute with the Rambam with the categorization of the Kohen Gadol's garments in Yom Kippur. The Rambam sagt big day kuna shleisha minim. Big day Kohen Hedyot, big day Zav, big day Lavan. Rambam says there's three categories. There's the garments of the Kohen Hedyot, then there is the golden garments and the white garments. According to the Rambam, the white garments on Yom Kippur are a totally different category of garments. It's not that you can't wear the gold and therefore he just wears the other four. No, it's a third category of begadim. As a matter of fact, number 38, the Rebbe says that the Ramban asks on the Rambam, if so, why is it not counted as its own mitzvah? Big day Kohen Hedyot is one mitzvah, big day Kohen Gadol is another mitzvah. If big day Lavan is a third category, why doesn't it mention it? But from this we see what the Rebbe is trying to say here, that the Rambam holds that there's three categories in big day Kuna. Rashi is medayik. However, Rashi specifies as bifnim dar from Misham is that in arbo ki Kohen Hedyot kenal barucha. As we explained in the Sikha, Rashi holds that he changes statuses. He goes into the category of a Kohen Hedyot. So there's only two types of begadim. There's big day Kohen Hedyot, there's big day Kohen Gadol, which is the big days of the Shmeina begadim. And on Yom Kippur, at certain points in Yom Kippur, he reverts, so to speak, to be like a Kohen Hedyot, and he wears four begadim. So this is seemingly in Machlekes, Rashi and Rambam. Rambam says there's three categories of begadim. Rashi says there's two categories of begadim. We see another difference between Rashi and Rambam with regards to the white garments on Yom Kippur. The Rambam says that those avodos that were specific to this day of Yom Kippur were done in big day Lavan and white garments. Big day Lavan is adin and Avedas Hayom. According to the Rambam, comes out that the big day lavon is a detail, is a din in the avodah of the day. That's something that belongs to the day of Yom Kippur. You have to wear these garments. But the din is varanas verikat. And there's a question on the Rambam. The ayil, the ram that the Kohen Gadol brought as his own oila, and the ram that he brought for the people were unique to Yom Kippur. They weren't done the rest of the year. And we said, as we said earlier, this was done. V'lavas begadov. Rashi says he changes his garments. He wears the big dizah for that. So we're not going to answer that question because we're not really discussing it. But we're pointing out that by the Rambam, when do you wear big day lavon? When you do avodas that are meyuchados, that are unique to Yom Kippur. Rashi, verbindt over the mechiyuv from big day lavon pnim. Rashi, however, as we've learned at length in the Sikha, Rashi connects the white garments with going into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So it's not totally an avodas hayom. No, art from the avodah. It's not dependent on the day, on the fact that it has to be an avodah that's connected to the day. It's dependent on the place. Anything that is done in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, or for something that will be done in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, darf getan werden big lavon. But if we get 3 years, like Rashi, as we said before, according to Rashi, the main kapara, the main atonement is when going in lifnai v'lifnim to the Kodesh HaKadoshim, when the avodas and the avodas of the day are only a preparation for his going into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. But they don't necessarily necessitate him to wear the garments unless it's directly connected. Like the shechita of a par that's going to bring the blood, but the ayil that's not connected to the Kodesh HaKadoshim at all in the actual implementation of the avodah, you don't need big day lavon for this. So another machlokes you have it in Rashi and Rambam: are the big day lavon dependent on avodas some yuchadas liyoim, or are they dependent on avodas that are in the pnim or tzarech pnim? The Rebbe now in Sif Yud is going to try to connect these two arguments. One argument is between Rashi and Rambam is it 2 or 3 types of begadim? As the big day lavon of the Kohen Gadol wears on Yom Kippur, is it a 3rd type of begadim, or is it just the big day Kohen Hedyot that the Kohen Gadol is putting on? And the second argument is whether the begadim are connected to the avodah yuchadas liyoim, or whether it's connected to the pnim. So let's say that these two differences. Aleph, the big day lavon is in shlili, other in chiyuvi. Where the big day lavon is, and here the Rebbe is using little words that we used earlier in the Sikha. Is it an inyan shlili that you just can't wear 8, or it's inyan chiyuvi that you have to wear 4? According to Rashi, you can't wear 8. That's the chiddush of Ela Barba. It's that it's inyan shlili because ein kategen asas aneger. So when you go in lefnai b'lefnim, you can't wear 8. Or according to the Rambam, it's inyan chiyuvi. You have to wear 4. You have to wear this new sukkah of begadim. Beis tzi big day lavon is rabbunim b'lavidus hayom at the lefnim. And the second argument that Rashi and Rambam have, whether the big day lavon are connected with the avodah of the day or with going into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, that it follows of us out. We could say that they are interdependent. If it's a unique din, a special din with regards to big day lavon, that there's a 3rd kind of garments called big day lavon, and there's a special din for it. He's mistaber, so then it's more logical to say that it's part of the avodah of the day. Just like the big day kohuna are generally connected to the avodah of the kohen, so then on Yom Kippur, which is a special day and has special avodah, has special garments. It all fits in very well. But if you're going to say like Rashi that the big day lavon is a negative din, that you can't wear 8. As Torah and Zayin big dezavan, you can't wear gold. It means Taber Zazagin, as it is verbunden nit mit der Avodah Gufa. Now with the Mokim from the Avodah was the last 9 initials of. So it's not about the Avodah, because you only say I can't wear gold. Where can't I wear gold? In the Kodesh HaKadoshim, because that's where the Kippur is happening. So then you say that it's not negia to the Avodah, it's negia to the place. Wherever I can't bring in gold, I can't wear those garments. So therefore, we could say Haba Talia that these two details in the machlekes between Rashi and Rambam are interdependent. So if you Aleph, the Rebbe is going to give us a very beautiful later. From the Pirish Rashi from this Rashi we could take out a lesson in serving Hashem. For Yid wants to accomplish, to become pure in front of Hashem. Whether with regards to himself or whether with regards to another Yid. And he wants to bring everyone, himself and others, before Hashem, closer to Hashem, he has to know that first and foremost what is required is he should go into the inside. He has to go inside. He has to base himself. He has to permeate him. Reingehen in sein Pnimis and Nefesh, to enter into the depths of the soul. And only then, only when it's lifnim, when it permeates him, when it goes into the depth of his soul, can he accomplish an atonement and a purification for himself or for another person. And how do you get into the inside? How do you get into the inner circle? Is durch Eistan sein Liebchav de Luciferes the big deserve. He has to get rid of his honor and his beauty, which are the golden garments. As long as it's about my beauty and my honor. He can go into the inside, because the inside is the ultimate goal, the ultimate purpose of creation, which is all about the Eibishter. If it's all about honor and glory, then you're not on the inside. When he feels like a regular kohen, not dressed up in gold garments. Never big day lavan. Kulan shel boots, when they're all when they're all linen. What is now shining in his soul is simplicity. That prepares him to go into the inside. And then he could accomplish a purification and an atonement. Not just for himself, he can do it so for another Yid as well. He atones for himself, he atones for his family, and he atones for all the Jewish people, because he took off the he took off the whole fancy garment, and he went in like a simple kohen, and he went in with all of it, with its simplicity. He was able to reach lifnim, was able to reach the depth of his soul, and he was able to accomplish a kapara for himself and for everyone around him.